We are officially in the thick of it for college football with all sights set on the college football playoff. Things are starting to heat up. Coming off our best week of the season, you're going to want to stay tuned to join us for our week 4 college football best bets. Welcome, college football fans, to another edition of DFSG Plus. We are the DGen Docs here on the channel. And look, folks, we are jacked to talk college football week 4, best bets, locks, picks. We absolutely crushed it last week, so we're psyched to do it all again. What is up, folks? I am one of your hosts here, the DGen Doc, and I am joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, aka Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Pretty good week last week, like you said, man.
It's, not only the picks, but the games. What an absolute game. College football week 3, man. So many good games, and, we'll get to that. But today's show, what we're going to be talking about here, first off, if you are joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Join the family here. Let's start cashing together all football season long. But the way this is going to work here, folks, is we are talking college football week number 4. It's the cheat sheet. We've got all the picks, all the plays that you need. Way we're going to kick this off here, we are going to start with, of course, a little bit of banter, some week 3 takeaways. Hey, big picture, what did we learn from week 3? Then we're going to do our power ranking adjustments. Which teams impressed us enough to move up, and which teams are we starting to go out on and fade the rest of the season here? And then we're going to do our 6-pack. That is right, not just your favorite case of beer, but your 6 favorite games. We're picking the 6 games that we feel have the best value in the betting markets this week. And then we will round out with our best bets, including a lock, a moneyline dog, and a parlay. All plays are considered to be 1 unit except for the lock, which is 2 units. And let's go ahead and roll in here. Wow. Last week, man, we were talking about week 1, how we had those 3 primetime top 10 matchups, really good on paper. And the games themselves, although we were excited to get college football back, really not the best games. But when we look at week 3, you had Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson, Georgia Tech,
Notre Dame,
Texas A&M, right? Really amazing games and finishes that were absolutely down to the wire. So what are your takeaways here from a crazy week 3 of college football?
Yeah, I mean, the games were back. Unlike week 2, which we just got a bunch of shit games. We had some big time matchups. Some top 20 matchups, and like you said, the games lived up to the hype. I mean, we had a couple games going to overtime. One of which we won't necessarily talk about. A couple of pit grads, but that A&M Notre Dame game late. Holy smokes, dude! That was a hell of a game.
That final play, 4th down, time expiring to throw it up and jump ball to your non-receiving tight end, and the kid just makes a play. I think that was what was all. Georgia Tech, fire, they didn't have a timeout, so it wasn't exactly a fire drill, but hey, you cannot make a mistake, not any penalties. 50-plus yard field goal to win the game against Clemson, who you haven't beat in 10 years.
Right.
Georgia, Tennessee. Is Tennessee finally going to knock off the Bulldogs? Josh Heupel going to get that Kirby Smart monkey off his back. And unfortunately, they blow a kick.
Fast.
Yeah, they don't get it done in overtime. And look, man, yes, we are, Derek and I met at the University of Pittsburgh. We are Pitt grads. We went to grad school there. We were repping H2P hard for the Brawl. And we got to talk about it, man. Let me let you have the floor first.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways? Obviously, massive disappointment. You come in as a big touchdown plus favorite. We knew it was a rivalry game. It might get ugly, but man, to let that game slip away up 10 late. What are your reactions?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think I learned more probably about West Virginia in this game than Pitt. West Virginia isn't very good. At the end of the day, they ended up getting the win, so props to them for that.
Right.
But at the same time, when you have a couple drives with back-to-back interceptions, bad interceptions, I believe in the third quarter, finally Pitt takes the lead, and then just down the stretch, Eli Holstein the veteran quarterback that he should be at this point
Right.
is not able to, play under the pressure of Morgantown. And
Yeah.
it really showed that, I mean, he wasn't getting a whole lot of help up front. He was running for his life the majority of the game, but yeah, super disappointing game. I was at an Ohio State party. I had a birthday party. It was, for the Ohio State game, repping my pit gear, got a couple of, side eyes, like, what the hell are you wearing? And yeah, it was a sad day.
Yeah, look, man, you said it. Like, this had all, nothing to do with what West Virginia did and all to do with what Pitt did not.
Yes.
Absolutely very mentally weak. Holstein from that first drive looked like he never played a road game in his life. Now, again, Morgantown, tough place to play.
No doubt.
It's a big deal. I mean, this rivalry is not any jokes. We were there for 3 years, and this is a real fucking deal. People hate each other, right? And, coming off of
that
where they haven't
65,
played
70 miles, whatever it is.
Right, exactly. Rich Rod's back since 13-9. His last game coaching, a team that's not very good talent-wise. They got 5 freaking quarterbacks that they're rolling out there.
Right.
No one's looking to step up. And Pitt, opportunity after opportunity, just let them go by. The penalties, mentally weak, undisciplined. I think this speaks to Holstein looking like shit, not taking advantage of the game. His defense gave him back-to-back interceptions. He threw a pick in the red zone that killed them. Kept settling for field goals. And, Narduzzi. This is a huge black mark. We're already not really Narduzzi guys. We've kind of at this point understand that 2021 ACC championship was more Kenny Pickett and Mark Whipple and the offense than the Narduzzi-led defense. Now, they've had some good defensive players come out of there, but this is a terrible game for Narduzzi. I've been on this program is going to only have so much of a ceiling with Narduzzi as the head coach. I'm ready to move on. This only kind of emphasizes that point. Absolutely disappointing, man. After all of that, playing like shit for 3.5 quarters, you have a 10-point lead to a team that is, they can barely throw the forward pass. And to let them go down and tie the game and then, in overtime, score a touchdown and you can't reproduce, absolutely just embarrassing. There's a reason why I'm wearing this Army football shirt because they're the only team right now I can feel proud to wear in the college ranks. Florida not looking much better. But hey, enough of the backyard brawl. We're moving forward there because we did have a solid week on the sheet there in week 3. So I hit my I hit my lock. You hit your dog. We both hit our dogs, actually.
Yep.
Thursday and Friday, we were perfect. Cashing an NC State -7.5, Arizona on the money line. The K-State under I gave out preseason. It was only one loss away from cashing there. And then Vanderbilt taking down South Carolina. So solid week, profitable week overall. And as away from the betting side, big picture, what are some takeaways that you saw from week 3 in the landscape of college football?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that we have to do or really say, and we've kind of already talked about it a little bit, is that playing on the road is really hard. Really hard. I mean, we've talked about this with Pitt going down to Morgantown.
Right.
Your boy DJ Lagway.
DJ,
I don't know what was going on down there in Baton Rouge, but 5 picks in one game. Whew, I don't know what's.
To lose that game by 10 only. We lost only by 10 points, and he threw 5 interceptions at the number 3 team in the country's place. Oh, man. But,
yes. I mean, we know that playing on the road is hard. It's college football. The pageantry of college football brings fans out of the woodwork. And I think we saw that over this past weekend. The probably one bright side to that was A&M going into Notre Dame, which I think I called that one.
You did. You were definitely on the right side there.
But I also threw out the under, and that was nowhere close to hitting.
Yes, the under was probably cooked by half.
It was very close to it. I think there was a 7 or 8 point swing there. No, but at the same time, it's just really hard to play on the road. And I think until we see some of these teams have road games, we still have question marks about them, because right now, all of those, blue blood programs have it nice where they can schedule FCS teams and other, lower level programs at their place. And once you go on the road, that's when a lot of times some of that funky, crazy shit ends up happening that we absolutely love in college football.
Yeah. No, I think that really should be the true test of, not only a good team, but a great team. Like, who are the real contenders for the national championship, college football playoffs? Solid road wins, right? You talked about Texas A&M. Obviously, we have to put Georgia in that conversation. Although they looked a bit shaky, they pulled it out and got it done, and then you have teams like Clemson, who's a bit fraudulent. They didn't get it done on the road, right? You have obviously Pitt, not as big up there, but Vanderbilt coming through in that environment, getting it on the road, which I did call. That is a very impressive win, right? Texas A&M, like you mentioned, is very impressive. So that is hard. The other thing, quarterback play, man, especially the ones that were like the more hype you got in the offseason, the absolute worse you are this season.
So far,
Cade Klubnik, DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning, Lenore Sellers, like all of them. Maybe they're not all losing. Nussmeier has won the games, but everyone has questions about that offense. Again, they had 5 interceptions, only scored 20 points against a Florida team that basically led up that much to South Florida. I am not bought in. They only scored 17 against Clemson. Really their defense is carrying them. Same thing with Arch Manning. Cade Klubnik, Clemson's defense trying to do everything they can for him. But I do want to shout out guys that weren't getting any hype in the offseason, like the Haynes King, like the John Mateer, Diego Pavia, Marcel Reed. Shout out to you guys because they probably still not getting the hype they deserve, but we'll give it to you because they are actually stepping up to the plate where a lot of these big names, and yet we said play on the road is hard, but they are just not delivering. Any kind of thoughts on the quarterback play throughout college football? Does this have to do with the transfer portal, NIL? Is this just, I'm getting paid, I want to play right now, lack of development? Where are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's partially the transfer portal. I think most of those guys that you talked about up front, outside of Nussmeier and Klubnik, I mean, Sellers is still a younger quarterback. Lagway is a younger quarterback. Arch is making his first few starts of his collegiate career, basically. So I think it's partially the transfer portal because, I mean, you talked about like Diego Pavia and John Mateer. I mean, both those guys are transfer guys that have been in college programs for 4 or 5, in Pavia's position, like 8 years. So I think in a lot of cases, veteran presence still matters in college football. Haynes King is another guy that has been around for 2 or 3 years. Marcel Reed, not so much, but he had one hell of a game this past season. So it'll be interesting to see how things progress with the transfer portal. A lot of the top 10 teams going into the season that were replacing big time quarterbacks had kind of self-developed their quarterbacks, and some of them have worked out. Some of them, are still a little bit shaky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, quarterback play definitely under fire there. And then Speaking
of fire, we've had a couple of those already. Exactly. It's week 4, and we've had 2 college football coaches booted out of town.
And I mean, honestly, from the fan bases, from the administration standpoint, it's hard to blame them. Virginia Tech just went 0-3 and lost to Old Dominion. It got blown out by Old Dominion at home after losing to South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Brent Pry out of there, and then chose Deshaun Foster, who had that infamous press conference introduction.
UCLA is in LA.
It is in LA, and guess what, buddy? You are not anymore. So Deshaun Foster, who we will get to, but 0-3 looks like the worst ROI on a NIL transfer package for the quarterback there in Nico. They're gone. So we just wanted to touch on that. But hey, let's look at the power rankings based on those performances so far in the season, and specifically last week. What teams made enough of an impact? We'll start with positive. Who moved up in your power rankings this past week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think anybody would not have this team in their power rankings after taking down one of the preseason favorites to win the national championship, and that's Georgia Tech. I mean, Haynes King is a dog, dude. He is a stud.
He's going to run himself to exhaustion, but damn it, he'll get out there.
Yeah, I mean, he had 20-some carries this past week, and he needed every single one of them. But
he's a gamer, man.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech, defensively kind of proved me something this past week. I was still holding out hope that Cade Klubnik and the boys over at Clemson would get something going. That wasn't the case. Georgia Tech kind of manhandled them up front. I mean, Clemson's defensive line, again, we were expecting big things coming out of those guys. A couple of guys are expected to be first-round draft picks.
Yeah, a lot of stars on that line.
Yeah, and they just have not lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Georgia Tech just continues to roll early on in the season, now 3-0. So Georgia Tech definitely trending up. Miami played Southern Florida. We did have a little bit of an upset the week before. We won't talk about that too much. But Miami, I kind of talked about this last week and how teams that are really good dominate teams that are really bad or just so. Like they're going to put up the points that they necessarily should against even, okay teams. And that's exactly what Miami did this past weekend. And then Texas A&M rolling in there to Notre Dame and getting a victory however means possible. I mean, Elko's is one hell of a head coach. And Marcel Reed, I talked about him a little bit last week, but that dude really balled out this past weekend, throwing for 380 or something like that.
Yeah, he looks incredible.
Yeah, and as far as like the Texas A&M thing, Texas A&M thing, like Notre Dame, I believe, won the time of possession. They led the rushing game. Notre Dame won the penalty battle. The only thing they didn't win is the turnover battle when it comes to, what we expect to see when you win games.
Right.
They tied. I think they both had 2 turnovers or something like that. But you should expect to win that game at home. And for whatever reason, Texas A&M just kept coming back and coming back. And I mean, props to them.
Yeah, it was a dogfight, and they got it done. Yeah. Now, I'll just throw up my teams here because 2 of them are the exact same. Starting with Texas A&M, you hit this in our season preview in the offseason, before the season got started. You had a ticket, I think, at like 4-1 for them to make the college football playoff.
Sounds right. I can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah, we'll have to pull that up eventually. But no, you were on them at a good price and beating Notre Dame, starting 3-0. Like everything's in front of them for this team, and they're in the SEC. I think 2 losses they'll definitely get in. Potentially 3. But yeah, looking at them moving forward, like I would say that's probably one of their toughest tests, if not the toughest, at Notre Dame, coming off the Notre Dame team.
Yeah, before the season, A&M was at plus 220, so more 2-1.
Right.
But another Texas team I did have, and that's Texas Tech. We'll talk about them here in a little bit.
We'll talk about them.
Yeah,
and then Georgia Tech, we both, I think, were on in the preseason as well. Like them, I think, what did we give them out? I mean, taking down Clemson, that was absolutely huge. Let's see. We gave Georgia Tech out at plus 730 over on FanDuel to make the college football playoff. They are now, I think, they're under 2-1. I think they're like plus 150 now in the market. So, man, they're off to a great, great start. Obviously, getting that road win in Colorado there and then beating Clemson for the first time. I wanted to say it didn't look pretty. Georgia Tech games do not look pretty. But, man, for them to get that done, because they were dominating that first half. And the second half, Klubnik and the offense really came out firing. Clemson took the lead and
start the second half,
to kind of take that blow and respond and figure out a way to grit out that win. Shout out to Brent Key and Haynes King. Really good coach and quarterback combo there. So, yeah, absolutely kudos to them. They continue to move up, both A&M and Georgia Tech. And then finally, Vanderbilt, man. When you sue the NCAA to play more football, you want to play more football. Diego Pisson-Pavia, baby. Love him. Great player. I gave out their over 5.5 at plus money on the season for the win total. And another play I'm going to throw out there is a little bit of a sprinkle. Vanderbilt to make the college football playoff is 12-1 now. Look, I understand that they knocked Lenora Sellers out of that game. However, leading up to that, that game was dominated. So I don't think that it was like all because Sellers got knocked out. I mean, they won 31-7. They completely dominated that game. Now, they've played Georgia State and Utah State, where you would expect some victories there. They are likely going to be 5-0 rolling into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they beat Alabama last year, and I think that Alabama team was probably regarded as a bit better last year.
Yeah.
Alabama's looked good these past 2 weeks, but they've really played some not so good teams. They got blown out by Florida State. Like, I think that's a game. You know, they have a tough schedule. They play LSU, Missouri. They play Texas and Auburn and Tennessee. Like, they do have a hard schedule. But, man, I think it's time we start thinking about this team as up there with, you know, Missouri, with Auburn, with Tennessee, you know, even Bama at this point.
Even LSU coming into their place, that I
Right.
wouldn't necessarily say that that's a gimme. I mean, Nessmeyer's been up and down over the last few weeks, so
Absolutely. I mean, at this
I
point
mean,
in the season,
honestly, probably the scariest game there is probably at Bama just because the revenge angle.
exactly right, exactly. But again, I mean, 10-2 in the SEC, especially with this schedule, even maybe 9-3 might get in. So I think this price still being at 12-1 is you're getting a lot of value there. I understand it's a bit of a long shot. It's 12-1, but really like the way that Clark-Lee has them playing. They got basically everyone back on their offense, their defense. Like, cohesion is team chemistry. We're seeing it with Iowa State. Like, these teams are thriving. So yeah, just wanted to give that out. All right, let's say what teams disappointed. Which teams are you moving down in your power rankings for this week?
Yeah, Texas, dude. Texas, Clemson, and Notre Dame. I mean, Texas was the one that, I mean, obviously they got a win this past week, but
They don't
I
look good
don't
at all.
yeah, they looked like absolute dog shit, if I'm being honest. I mean,
Yeah.
when you are going up against UTEP, you should put up more points than 27 points to begin with. But two, I mean, until late in that or no, going into late in the second quarter, excuse me. You're up by what, 11 points, I think it was. At halftime you're up 11.
Yeah.
And I don't know, dude, just to score 2 touchdowns against a UTEP team that's 1-2.
It's not good.
Yeah, I just don't know much else to say about that. I mean, Arch has looked very shaky. I think he's thrown a pick in every single game that they've played. That's just not a Manning if I've ever seen one, you know?
No.
And obviously with Clemson, I don't know if they're going to turn it around this year at this point. Like, I think they're going to end up 9-3,
I don't know, man.
8-4. I mean,
ACC,
I think they'll still end up with a winning record. They'll still go bowling, but
right.
I think their playoff picture is gone at this point. And then Notre Dame, at the end of the day, they're probably the best 0-2 team to ever exist. But to not win that game at home,
Yeah, you had to win that.
was just shocking to me.
You had to win that.
Yeah,
You can't lose that game. I mean,
especially putting up 40 points. I mean, the Al Golden loss is definitely hurting them much more than I would have expected.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, you know, speaking of Clemson, you're right. Yeah, they're definitely going to go bowling. Obviously, they're Clemson, but they've got a stretch where they go at Boston College. They play SMU. They play Duke. They play Florida State. They play Louisville, and then finish
They
obviously with
don't
South
have much else on their schedule, to be honest with you. So I think, or no, not Clemson. I was talking Notre Dame. Just kidding.
Yeah, Notre Dame also another one where you know I would say Notre Dame is one that you do really got to win. The defense. Geez, man, that's not the same defense, right? Whether it's a coordinator, I saw Marcus Freeman's going to be more involved. The quarterback actually, you know, the young quarterback's actually playing pretty well. But
He's
you're
playing
right.
okay. I would say he's playing okay, but I mean, I think they only have one more ranked opponent currently on their remaining schedule, and that's USC.
Right.
Outside of that, like they will probably finish this season without a quality win, and with already having 2 losses, I don't necessarily know if that's going to even sneak you in with your losses being the first couple weeks of the season. You just lost off a bye,
Yeah.
like. And evidently the playoff committee is going to look into strength of schedule, strength of record, all of those things a little bit more. You're not going to have that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No. All 3 of those teams are teams that were thought of as locks for the college football playoff, and all of them very disappointing to this point. So I don't have any arguments there. I'll quickly throw mine up. You know, Clemson. same thing. We talked about it. Offense looks terrible. Klubnik needs to get it together. Don't know if they'll do it. They do play a Florida State team that looks pretty good. They've got a couple other ACC opponents on their schedule that, could be pretty tough for them at this level of where this Clemson team's at. Pitt, you have to win that game. Narduzzi, they had everything in front of them. This ACC is kind of wide open. It's obviously not conference play, but that is a huge loss to the kind of morale of the season. And just shows me that Narduzzi is not the guy. And Holstein, a lot of questions there too. And then finally, UCLA. UCLA paid $1.2 million for New Mexico to come into their stadium, into the Rose Bowl. And they got beat by 5 touchdowns, I believe. Let me pull this up. Was it 4 scores? What was the final score for that game?
I'll tell you real quick.
Yeah, look that up for me. Are you kidding me? They already paid a shit ton of money for Nico to come in here and look like hot garbage.
Yeah.
And now to lose this game in the way that they lost, nobody's at your stadium. The fan base is already gone. And what was the score there? I think it was like 35-7, right?
I can't find it.
Look, they're trying to hide it off
it seems to be.
They are in the Big Ten now.
That's true.
Big Ten. It was 35-10.
35-10. There you go.
A 25-point home loss to New Mexico. That is absolutely embarrassing. Obviously, Foster got fired there, the head coach, and
that's why I couldn't find it. It was a Friday game, and it's way past my bedtime by the time they play. So
yes, it was way past your bedtime, exactly. But yeah, no, that was crazy. Like they got dominated too.
Yeah.
It was not a fluke. Like they just straight up got their ass kicked. So yeah, that's. I mean, I didn't have them in any type of high regard, but you can't get worse than that.
No doubt.
All right, we're moving forward. Enough with the rear view. We have learned, we have processed the data from week 3, and now we are going to take it and continue to crush week 4. Coming off a solid week, we are going to try to one up, and let's go for a perfect week here. Let's go for a perfect 6-0. Shoot for the stars, baby. We've got our college football week 4 cheat sheet, and we are starting with the first game here. Game number 1.
Thursday night football.
Thursday night football here. Look, we know that you've got the NFL, but everybody knows you can never have enough football. So we've got one that may not be on your radar, but we're telling you why it should be, mostly because you can make cash off that. We have the Rice Owls playing at the Charlotte 49ers there. This is a Thursday, September 18th, a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time kick. The 2-1 Rice Owls at the 1-2 Charlotte 49ers there. And I know what you're thinking. Why are we talking about this game? Well, we're talking about this game because, again, we give you the 6 best games that we see value on. And I think we both see a lot of value on one side here. You have Rice as the road favorite, small road favorite, -2.5, -112. Again, all of our odds are via DraftKings, and then we will give you the best price that we found out there, just kind of to make it easier. Over-under sitting at 44.5. Charlotte +2.5. Small dog +114 on the money line. Rice a -135 that way. Who do you got in this one? A Thursday night kickoff to college football week 4.
Yeah, give me the Rice Owls, man. I don't know why this is even a question. I mean, Charlotte has one win against an FCS Monmouth, and when they gave up 42 points.
Yep.
They lost to UNC in Bill Belichick's first collegiate win a couple weeks ago, and then they did lose to App State in week 1. But they just haven't really done a whole lot for me. Especially in the running game. And I think this is going to be one of those smash mouth games from Rice's side of the ball because they've had a change of heart when it comes to offensive ways of playing. So I think that Rice is going to come in and smack him in the mouth a little bit and put it to him. So yeah, give me Rice at -2.5.
Yeah, look, there's some hard things in college football. We talked about one, playing on the road, right? Another one is preparing for the triple option on a short week. You mentioned it. Rice kind of took a different approach. They were pretty terrible last year. So they said, you know what? What can we do where maybe there's a little bit of a talent deficit for our schedule? Well, let's follow what the military does, baby. The service academies. We're going to the triple option. So they run a version of the triple option there. And it's a Thursday game, man. Coming off Saturday games like these, this is a hard thing to prepare for. Yeah. Charlotte is all fat and happy because they finally got their first win of the season. Like you mentioned, it was to, FCS Monmouth there. And that was a shootout. Like this was 42-35. This was a tie game at 35 with almost, 2 minutes left in the game. They didn't score until a minute left in that football game. Like this was not, a backdoor situation. Like this was a very much competitive game through and through. And, lost to North Carolina, which how good is North Carolina really? They got blown out by North Carolina. Obviously, we've seen them play TCU, and then they've beaten a couple cupcakes there. And then they also played App State. They got blown out by App State. App State just lost to Southern Miss, a team that we were a little bit high on, but was, the underdog in that game. So how good is App State? Where we're talking about Rice, where, I think that they won opening game of the season. They went on the road and beat a Louisiana team that was 10-3 last year. Yeah. They were in the Sun Belt Championship. They played a really good Houston team that just beat Colorado. Like there's no shame in that. And then they took care of their FCS in Prairie View and beat them pretty handedly. So I love Rice in this one. Yeah, give me Rice -2.5, -110 over on Bet365. There is the best price we found out there. Another thing I just wanted to mention, tickets for this game are $6 currently. It doesn't tell me that this is going to be a
the 49ers are coming in bunches, you're saying?
I mean, I think that, we could probably buy out this stadium just off our plays last week because, that's not really gives me strong home environment vibes there. Last thing I'll mention here, the Charlotte 49ers are losing the turnover battle, 7 turnovers to 1 this season. The Rice Owls have only turned the ball over twice. I think turnovers can be a major turning point. And when you're playing the triple option, you're only going to get so many possessions. So if you're giving them away to the other team, that's going to be a very bad recipe for you. So give me the Rice Owls -2.5 as well. We are both on Rice. Then we're going over to a Friday night game here. Sticking with the weekday game action, which has been great. Went 1-0 and then 2-0 on Thursday, Friday last week, hoping to run it back. But we've got a little bit bigger of a matchup here. Moving up to some big boys here in the Big Ten. We are talking the Iowa Hawkeyes, the 2-1 Iowa Hawkeyes, hitting the road, going to Piscataway there to play the 3-0 Rutgers Scarlet Knights there, Iowa, small favorite as well. They're -2.5, -115 on the spread there. Over-under sitting at 45.5. Rutgers, small dog, +2.5, -105, and then +120 on the money line. Iowa, -142 on the money line there. How do you see this one going on the Friday night? This game is kicking off on Friday. Let me pull this up. I have this up.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you very much. All right. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things that Rutgers is 3-0, and they've been beating up on the MAC and Norfolk.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily know what this Rutgers team really looks like to this point. Now, Ohio gave them everything that they have, and I will say that Ohio has a pretty good squad down there in Athens. Reigning MAC champs, but Iowa's only loss came on the road to a rival in Iowa State. I mean, they just kicked UMass's ass. Everybody does. Okay, cool. And then they beat Albany, I believe it was in week 1.
Yeah, week 1.
But I think this is going to be one of those like old school Big Ten games that's probably just a slugfest and ends in like a score of 17-14. With Iowa ended up winning this game and covering. So give me the Hawkeyes.
Yeah. I also will be on these Iowa Hawkeyes, the small road favorite there. You mentioned it. I mean, Iowa State, we think you're one of the best teams in the country. You know, give out their win total over, have a play on them in the college football, have a play on them at like 121 to win the Natty. They're a solid team. Like to lose to them on the road by a field goal, there's no shame in that. Whereas, meanwhile, Rutgers does have a decent win there with Ohio. Again, Ohio they should have probably won that game, Ohio. They were down late. There was only a field goal game. They were pushing towards the end zone. Didn't get it done. But, this game, again, Rutgers not really one of the, Piscataway, not really one of the premier road environments.
No
I
doubt.
think, compared to the Iowa State game, I think Iowa's going to be well prepared here.
Right.
Iowa's also a team that, look, their quarterback play, I think, is going to be a bit improved. They bring over Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State in the FCS
And
level.
he did look. He finally looked better this past week. The first couple weeks, he looked a little out of
Shaky.
his element. Yes,
Right.
he did have a couple touchdowns and threw for over 150 yards, which Iowa doesn't do very
That's
often.
big.
So,
That's big. Yeah. And I mean, look, this is a guy who won back-to-back national championships with South Dakota State at the FCF level. The dude's a winner.
Yep.
Where meanwhile, I have big questions on the quarterback, the Greek little rifle there, Kaliakmanis, Kaliakmanis, excuse me, for Rutgers. Man, watching him last year, he was brutal. And I know he's looked better, but the competition, like, to go from MAC and FCS defenses to Iowa's defense, I think it's going to be a major step up. He's a guy who had a lot of turnovers last year. So I think that, Rutgers typically tries to play like an Iowa. They're like an Iowa light. Right. This season, though, like, they're giving up 31 points to Ohio. They're
airing it out a little bit more than what you typically see from Rutgers.
They're getting away from a little bit of what they were. And I think, yes, you can do that against lesser competition, but I think when it comes to an Iowa team and Ferentz, who's going to have this team extremely prepared, give me Iowa. I trust the quarterback and I trust the coach, and I don't think this is a road environment that is considered to be anything close to what they just saw in Ames a couple weeks ago. All right, we're moving over to the Saturday slate. We are talking a huge matchup here.
Big noon kickoff game.
Not just in the Big 12, but college football playoff implications through the roof in this one. Super excited for this game. It's got to be this game of the weekend. This is kicking off, like you said, Saturday, September 20th, 12 p.m. Eastern time. Kind of sucks that it's a noon kick, honestly. I don't love the Fox noon kick thing. Like, this should be
especially more on the not the West Coast, but the West side.
This would be
area.
This is 9 a.m. for them.
Yeah,
it's a 9 a.m. game. I know it's still going to be lit because Utah fans they're fucking crazy. They're awesome. They're everything we love about college football.
No doubt. They'll show up until late.
This should be a night game. Anyway, number 17, 3-0 Texas Tech traveling to Salt Lake City to take on the 3-0 number 16 team in all the land, the Utah Utes, for an absolute primetime matchup in Rice-Eccles Stadium there. This is going to be a big one. Texas Tech +3 plus 140 on the road. Utah -3, -166 on the money line. Over under sitting at 58.5. How do you see this one playing out in this massive, massive game for Week 4?
Yeah, I mean, this one's really tough because I was really high on Texas Tech. I gave them out as a potential college football playoff team.
Right.
Utah has looked much, much better this season as well. They finally have a quarterback that's been on the field outside, Cam Rising 2 or 3 years before this just couldn't figure out, hey, in order to play quarterback, you actually have to step onto the field and be healthy. But at the end of the day, like I said, this one's tough because neither of these teams has really played anybody. I mean, Utah played Wyoming, UCLA, and Cal Poly.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Texas Tech is basically played the schools of the blind as well, and Oregon State, Kent, and Pine Bluff? Yeah, Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just one of those situations where I'm going to take the quarterback that I have more trust in, and that's Behren Morton for Texas Tech. I think that they're going to be able to score on this Utah defense, even though Utah is historically thought of as like this ground and pound, rough and tough type of a team. I just don't think that they match up well with Texas Tech. And I know you're a big Utes guy, but right now Texas Tech offensively has it rolling, and I think that their defense is much improved over the last couple of years. I think going into the season, Texas Tech it was like the terms of or not recruiting classes, but transfer classes with the transfer portal, how it is, like they had a top 3 transfer portal class coming in. They spent a boatload of money on upgrading basically every position outside of the quarterback. So I think things are working so far. No reason to doubt it now.
Yeah, look, you can have your money and your flashy things and your new equipment, and we're going to spend all this money in Texas. But you know what beats money every time? That's culture. That's grit. That's discipline. And that is toughness. And that is what this Utah Utes team is. Look, you mentioned they haven't played anybody. Well, I definitely agree with you in Texas Tech. I think they've played arguably Kent State, Oregon State, you can argue are bottom 10 FBS teams in the whole, entire nation. And then Arkansas and Pine Bluff is an absolute joke. They've also played all of those teams at home. This is their first road game. We just talked about playing in contentious stadiums, talking about Rice Eccles. This is a stadium that from the stretch of 2020
the
until
Utes are going to be having breakfast right before.
Look, I'm telling you, man. Here. Yes, I would love if this game.
If this was a night game, if this was a night game, I would very, very much like to reconsider this. But a 9:00 kickoff, yes, Utah fans will show up, but they won't have nearly the time to booze as if this was a 5:00 kick, an 8:00 kick.
They don't booze out there. It's Mormon country. What are you talking about? They don't do that anyway. They wake up with hatred in their veins, maybe in their coffee. But look, from 2020 to early 2024, basically before Cam Rising messed up their entire season by getting hurt, they were 20-2 at home. 20-2. This is one of the premier stadiums of college football. The other thing is, I think Utah's actually played, at Wyoming is a tough place to play. UCLA, the way they dominated, yes, now it doesn't look as nice, right? I get that. But they've beat everybody by 20-plus points. They have dominated, and yes, so is Texas Tech, but I think the quality of play is different. And I really like Dampier. I think Devin Dampier is a guy who absolutely changes this offense. He is dynamic. He can throw. He can run. And coaches, Kyle Whittingham, I think he's one of the best coaches in all the land. His team's going to be disciplined. They're going to be physical. They're going to become ready to play. This is a very good game. Sometimes when we disagree, I think you're crazy. I can see this may, I think this will be maybe a 1-score game. Yeah. I just think ultimately Utah gets it done, wins by, 5, 6, 7 points. So give me Utah at home. It's not a team I'm going to fade. Utah -3, -110 over, on Bet365. If you're on the Utah side, Utah, this number is going towards Texas Tech. So if you're on the Texas Tech side with Derek, I would say you probably want to bet this now as soon as possible. Utah side might be advantageous to wait a little bit. It opened up, I think, at 4.5 and has already gotten down to 3. So I will gladly take all of that from the Utah side. All right, our first disagreement of the show, always fun. All right, next game here, another really good game with some unbeatens. We have this game's kicking off at the 3:30 Eastern slate there on Saturday. The 3-0 Tulane Green Wave taking on the 3-0 Ole Miss Rebels, who are somehow ranked the number 13 team in the country. You got Tulane, pretty big dog here, plus 11.5, minus 108, plus 350 on the money line. Over-under sitting at 61.5. Ole Miss on the other side, they're laying 11.5 points at home. They are minus 455 on the money line here. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, this was another tricky one just because of the number, to be honest with you. I think it's if this was a 2-touchdown game, this is super easy to me. But even at 11.5, I do like Tulane and the points in this one. I think Tulane is one of only a few teams, and Ole Miss is this way too. They've had a couple close games, but I've played a couple of out of conference FBS teams at this point. They did win at Northwestern in week 1, big time, and then last week Duke came to Tulane. Excuse me. and ended up pulling that one out by a touchdown. They have played on the road. I know you brought that up earlier. This team has played on the road before,
Right.
and Ole Miss just hasn't necessarily impressed me. I mean, it took everything that they could not to screw up the Kentucky game a couple weeks ago, and Arkansas played them pretty tough this past week. That defense is not very good, in my opinion.
No.
So I do like Tulane in this one and being able to put up some points and keep this one within a couple scores.
Yeah, I love Tulane here. I mean, you hit a lot of really good points, but what the hell has Ole Miss done to be ranked the number 13 in the country?
That's a good question.
I don't see this at all. It's typical kind of SEC bias, Lane Kiffin, flashy offense. But yeah, you talked about it. Sure, they beat Georgia State by, 60 points or whatever. Cool. Everyone does that. It's not a big deal. But yeah, they went into Kentucky, and that was a one-score game for the majority of the game. They were down at some point, Then they play Arkansas. That's a shootout. That game is back and forth. They only won by 7. I don't understand why they're double-digit favorites. I understand when people see Tulane, they see a group of 5 team, and they assume, not the same level of competition. But this is a team that very well coached. John Summerall is probably his last year there because of how good of a coach he is. He's going to be someone that's on everybody's board. And this is a team that they should have beat Kansas State. They lost a crazy game by 7 last year. They were playing with Oklahoma last year. Like, this is a solid school.
And on the Ole Miss side, Austin Simmons has not looked good.
He's looked bad, and he's injured.
Yeah, I mean, he's beaten up. He's an ankle thing going on.
He sat out last week with an ankle injury from the Kentucky game.
Right. No, I mean, I don't necessarily think that he's all that in a bag of chips. I think he's thrown for as many picks as he has touchdowns to this point. And
4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
We know that that Lane wants to air the ball out. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea for the Rebels.
I agree. Yeah, I think turnovers are going to be a problem for him. I mean, he looks like a young quarterback. Some moments he looks great. Other moments you're banging your head against the wall. And I think that, 1 or 2 costly turnovers. I mean, I love Tulane. Look, I think of quarterbacks, you're talking about quarterbacks, Jake Recklaff, he gets into some extracurriculars over there on BYU, which you're not allowed to do. He does what most college kids do. I think he just got caught. But hey, he was releasing some things there, and now he can come down to New Orleans and kind of release everything he wants, and he's balling. Man, Recklaff looks really good, leading rusher, leading passer. He ran for 4 touchdowns last week. And we talked about this Ole Miss defense. They gave up 23 points to Kentucky, who couldn't move the ball worth shit against anyone else. They gave up 35 to Arkansas. Like, this is not a shutdown defense by any means. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is upset alert for Ole Miss. The Grove there, I think it's going to be an offensive explosion. And I think Tulane and Recklaff and this offense can go shot for shot for them. And I trust the more senior quarterback in Recklaff to not make the mistakes. Whereas on the other side, Austin Simmons, I think turnovers are coming their way. So I love Tulane getting the 11.5 points there. I think this should be way closer to, 5 points, definitely under a touchdown. But hey, if the books are going to put it out there, we're going to hammer it. So both on Tulane here. All right, game 5 and 6, we're going to wrap up this slate here. This next game may be a little personal. So we'll see. We are talking the West Virginia Hillbillies heading out to Lawrence, Kansas to take on the Jayhawks here. This is a game that's kicking off Saturday, September 20th, 2025, 6 p.m. Eastern time kickoff there at that new beautiful stadium that Kansas is laying out. They're finally playing at home again. 2-1 West Virginia. They're plus 13.5. They are big road dogs, plus 390 on the money line. Over under sitting at 56.5. And they're taking on Kansas team 2-1. They're coming off a bye week after losing to a rival in Mizzou. They're laying 13.5, minus 520 on the money line. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I mean, one of these teams won in an emotional rivalry game this past week, and I don't necessarily know if West Virginia didn't make the college football playoff last week the way that they were celebrating. On the other hand, like you said, Kansas is coming off a bye after losing in a rivalry game against Mizzou a couple weeks ago. I absolutely love Jalen Daniels in this Kansas offense. On the other hand, West Virginia can't decide between the 27 quarterbacks that they have on the roster. So yeah, give me the Jayhawks. With what 13.5 points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
13.5. Laying
Laying 13.5. I'll take it. Yes.
Look, when you brought this game up to me, in our pre-production meeting there, I was like, man, that's a lot of points. I was kind of like, I don't know what side I'm going to be on, yada, yada, yada. And then I saw something that I could not ignore. And it's very similar to what you're talking about. Here we have Mr. Rich Rod himself. Let's pull this up here. Yes, Rich Rod himself on Pat McAfee talking shit about Pitt. This guy, it's Tuesday of this week. They play in a couple days, and he's still talking about this Pitt game, and he's dancing, and he's partying, man. Look, I'm telling you right now that this West Virginia team is they probably haven't stopped drinking and partying since Saturday. All right? So there is no way in hell that they are preparing for Kansas. They don't even probably know what a Jayhawk is at this point. They're at all the bars in Morgantown, still living this up.
Conference, they have no idea.
And for Kansas, on the other hand, you mentioned it. They had a game slip through their hands in Mizzou. They were up 21-6 on their rival in Mizzou, and they've had a week to sit and fester and get pissed off. And now you got these hillbillies coming into town, and they're opening conference play at home. Look, man, I like Kansas a lot here. This is a team we were both high on preseason. We like Jalen Daniels. They finally have a home environment there. I think that West Virginia is going to lose by 20, and they're not even going to care. Like, I think they're still like, I can't wait. And the other thing I'll say, Kansas beat Fresno State, who looks like a solid team, by 24. Yes. They beat Wagner, who's whatever, but they beat them by 39. Like, they can put up points. No doubt. You talked about it. When you have 5 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks. They don't have anyone who can push you down the field. Like, they're still trying to figure out what the hell they are. And they're not figuring out while they're drinking and partying this week. So, absolutely love Kansas here. I will lay the minus 13.5. I actually think if I can convince my wife, I might go watch this game. Obviously made the move over to the Kansas City area. It's only, 45-minute drive. Okay. I'm thinking if I can, look, I'm seeing if there's any military tickets that they're giving out. But if I can get to this game for pretty cheap, we might wear our Pitt gear and we might have a fun hate watch. And
there you go. I love it.
Hey, look, one win does not wipe away your shot that we ruined at a national championship. 13-9 still lives alive, and Kansas is going to get it done for us. So, obviously, disclaimer, a little bit of hatred in this pick. But we're riding the Jayhawks to take down those Mountaineer hillbillies. All right, let's wrap it up with the last one here. Really solid game.
Big time Big Ten game.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very fun game. We've got the 3-0 number 9 team in the country, Illinois, fighting an eye, heading out to Indiana to take on those Hoosiers, the number 19 team in the country. They are also off to a 3-0 start there. Nice little nightcap here. This is a 7:30 Eastern time kick.
Yep.
Oh, man. Bloomington, Indiana there at Memorial Stadium. I'm excited for this one. I think everybody with a pulse should be excited for this one. How do you see this game playing out between two teams sitting atop the Big Ten right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to what happened last year with the Indiana Hoosiers and Curt Cignetti and bringing all those transfers in and basically flipping the Big Ten college football on its head a little bit, and an Indiana team who hasn't been relevant in probably ever, basically, in college football, making it into the first 12-team college football playoff. On the other hand, you have Illinois that is built within over the last couple of years. They have a shit ton of guys coming back. I think they have, 18 guys
19 starters returning.
19 starters returning from a season ago, where Indiana lost quite a few. They went back to the transfer portal, reloaded. But I think at this point, Illinois hasn't played a ton, but they do have a road win against Duke, and it was a pretty convincing win at 45-19.
Yep.
Indiana has played Indiana State, Kennesaw, and Old Dominion. Although Old Dominion did just beat Virginia Tech, I don't necessarily think that Old Dominion is very good. Indiana
was a game. That was a game.
Yeah, they beat them 27-14. Now they've held Kennesaw and Indiana State to 56-9, 73-0. Again, what are you going to do with an FCS team in Indiana State? But
that doesn't tell you anything. Yeah,
I think the Illinois is going to come in here and basically show that, hey, building within is always going to be better than getting guys through the transfer portal. These guys have played with each other for the last couple of years. And like I said, they've already gone on the road, already have a pretty convincing road win at Duke.
yeah.
Indiana, although, you know, Memorial Stadium over there in Bloomington has gotten fuller over the last year. I don't necessarily think that it's like the best environment in college football.
Right.
So I think Illinois is going to go in and probably end up getting a win. But yeah, give me Illinois in the points.
Yeah, look, I forgot to read the line. I was so excited. Over on DraftKings, they're catching 4.5 points. Plus 162 on the money line. Over understood at 52.5. On FanDuel, though, they are catching 5.5 points, which is where we are going to bet this at. So Illinois plus 5.5. I am right there with you. You talked about the road win at Duke. They've been on the road. They got a solid Power 5 win. Power 4, excuse me. And you were on the right side in that one. I was on Duke. You were on Illinois in that one, and they. They forced 5 turnovers. They really kind of won that handily there. You talked about the returning production. Outside of the Duke game, a lot of basically both these teams have played a lot of cupcakes. I think that ODU game, Indiana dressed that up. They were down at one point. Like that was very much a game to start. And, ODU, a decent group of 5 team in the Sun Belt there. But I think this is a major step up in competition, obviously. And I think the deciding factor for me is the quarterbacks. You have fifth-year senior quarterback in Luke Altmaier for Illinois. He's been in the system for 3 years. Him and Brett Miller are, they have great chemistry.
Yep.
And then you have the junior Francisco Mendoza coming over from Cal, who's played, kind of started a year and a half basically before that. He's in a completely new system.
He's been playing pretty well, but the competition just hasn't been there for him to be tested.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically playing against traffic cones out there other than the Old Dominion game. So, I think getting 5.5 points is crazy. So we'll absolutely take the Illini there. So a lot of consensus picks here. Starting with Thursday, we are both on Rice. And Friday, we're both on Iowa. The Saturday big noon kickoff there between Utah and Texas Tech. You are on the Texas Tech Raiders. I am on the Utah Utes. We are both on Tulane to keep it a game with Ole Miss, both on Kansas to beat the shit out of West Virginia, and both taking Illinois to make it a game there in Bloomington. Yeah. All right, let's get to our favorite section here. We are talking best bets. Let me hear your lock. Let's actually let's go back and forth. So what's your lock for this college football week 4 here?
Yeah, give me the Hawkeyes on Friday night against Rutgers on the road. I think it's just one of those things that like I think you mentioned it before, Rutgers tries to play like Iowa, or at least has been, and Rutgers is going to show them who's daddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Iowa there, minus the 115 over on DraftKings for the minus 2.5.
Minus 2.5, yeah.
Excuse me. All right, I am on Utah. Home environments, baby. It is tough to play on the road in college football, especially in lit environments. Come on, Rice Eccles. I don't care. It's 9 a.m. This is a huge game. Camp out. Start partying Saturday night. Just ride the vibes there, man. I think very disciplined team. Great coach. Dynamic quarterback. Some of the best line play in all of college football. And I don't think Texas Tech has played damn near anybody to be deserved of the 17 ranked
team. They're the Arizona State of the Big 12 this year, man. Texas Tech.
No way. They can spend all that money, but Arizona State, they didn't have all the money in the world, but they had a great coach and they had culture. And I'm not convinced Texas Tech has that. So give me Utah minus the 3, minus 110 over at Bet365. Who's your dog this week?
Illinois on the money line, goes into Bloomington and gets a win over an Indiana team at plus 168.
168 over on FanDuel there. I like that play. I think if you weren't on that already, I wouldn't have been my dog. But I have another one I can pivot to. Give me Tulane. I'm going big dog hunting this week, man. I'm going for the big dog. We're going Tulane on the money line plus 350 to go into the Grove there in Mississippi and take out those fraudulent Ole Miss Rebels. I just think this number's way off. I don't think that Ole Miss has proven anything this season that shows me that they're the number 13 team in the country. It's the SEC and Lane Kiffin bias, and I think they've got a gimpy quarterback who's going to be prone to making some mistakes. And I love Retzlaff and John Summerall to go into Ole Miss and take out a top 15 team in the country there at a nice, juicy plus 350 on the money line. All right, let's finish it up with some fun. What is your teaser and or parlay of the week?
I got one of each. I got a teaser, 6-point teaser, Illinois, Texas Tech, Kansas. So Illinois teased down to teased up, to 11.5. Kansas teased down to 7.5. And Texas Tech teased up to 9.
I really enjoyed you doing the math live there. If you couldn't
tell,
that
was I usually write it down. I did.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I know. I saw it. I was like, all right, buddy, good for you. Plus 140 there for the 6-point.
Plus 140 for that one. But then let's just do a little money line, dog parlay here. Illinois and Texas Tech on the money line. Put them both together, and you'll get that at plus 544.
Yeah, nice 5.5 to 1 there. Illinois and Texas Tech. Unfortunately, I won't be rooting for that one to hit, but hey, I'll root for you on all the other ones. All right, my parlay here. I've got two. I've got one that's, responsible, and one that's a little degen for the degens out there. Sprinkle some. So I'm going to go 3 small favorites that I'm all on. Rice, Iowa, Utah, money line. First 3 games, give me the small favorites there. That's plus 388 over on DraftKings if you parlay all those money lines together between Rice, Iowa, Utah. And then the DGen parlay, I'm going to go off of your dog theme there, dog money line parlay. Give me Tulane and Illinois at plus 1079, almost 11 to 1 there over on, I believe that's FanDuel that's at. But dogs are going to bark this week, baby. So the big ones at least. So we will do a quick wrap up here and then we'll get out. So Derek is the Iowa Hawkeyes to take down the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Iowa minus 2.5, minus 115 over on DraftKings. The Illinois Fighting Illini to take down the Hoosiers there on plus 168 on the money line at FanDuel. And then 6-point teaser of Illinois, Texas Tech, Kansas. No way I'm doing all that math. You can figure it out, but plus 140 there. For myself, he's also on Illinois and Texas Tech at a plus 544 there on the money line. I will be my lock of the week. Utah Utes minus 3, minus 110 over on Bet365. The dog is the Tulane Green Wave to go into Ole Miss and take down those fraudulent Rebels. Plus 350 on the money line, that is. And then the responsible parlay, Rice, Iowa, Utah money line at just under 4 to 1. And then the big dog hunting, Tulane and Illinois on the money line for almost an 11 to 1 payout there.
Look, a little pizza bet. Just a little pizza bet.
We were heating up last week, and we are ready to take off this week, college football week 4. What do you got for the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this college football show every Tuesday night for the last few weeks. That's not going to change until the season's over. And then on Wednesday nights, we got the NFL show coming out, talking props, game picks, a little DGen play towards the end. And then we usually finish up talking about the Thursday night game, doing a little bit of a preview there. We're also over on IDP Plus talking some injury stuff or fantasy relevancy. You do your IDP injury report on Thursday nights, I believe. Yeah. And then I talk waiver wires on Sunday night. Usually comes out Monday morning. But other than that, as always, if you like what we're throwing out here, like, subscribe, follow, do all the things.
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of you that have been giving love to the college show, which we appreciate, man. But hey, join the family fully. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let's keep cashing all season long. We are ready to take off here. And then Derek mentioned it. If you like college football, of course you're watching the NFL. Let's make some money. Went 6-0 on Thursday night on the bets. Derek 3-0 on his props last week. We're heating up over there on the college show. Look, you could be enjoying your Rice minus 2.5 cash. And then some of the bets we're going to talk about tomorrow night in that Bills-Miami Dolphins game. If you're into fantasy, IDP Plus, we both do shows like Derek talked about. But hey, Join with us. Let us know in the comments who you're rooting for this week. Let us know who your teams are. Ready to get some fans going, especially if you got a big game. Indiana, Illinois fans. Let's see who hits it out. Utah, Texas Tech. Come on, Utah. I need that Rice Eccles pack, baby. And then, hey, if you know anything about it, getting me to a Jayhawks game here to watch the Mountaineers get beat down, just let me know. Reach out. But hey, look, you can follow Derek on X at Professor_Lock2. I am at the DGen Doc on X there. And hey, folks, we appreciate you. You know what they say. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the DGen Docs, we've got your prescription. From both of us here on DFSG Plus, we are out of here.